Hello guys. So there are different pricing across different platforms of this ride sharing. Um, there is Bolt, there is Uber, there is indrive, there is Rida as well. Now, as far as we know, indrive has the least amount of commission payment, 10%. Actually 9.99, then plus VAT and all that. All of them have a VAT payment. But the thing is this, if you want to consider which of these app pays you the most, like the most profitable app to work on, that's a tricky question. Why? Because I was analyzing the boat pricing system and it seemed like, removing search aside, if you look at the boat pricing system, for short trips, boat doesn't really pay you well, right? It never does actually. But when it comes to long trips, boat does a very good job at their fare system. It's very, very profitable for you as the driver. For instance, I had done an experiment. Now I checked this in the middle of the night, hoping that there is no surge within the distances where I was checking. So I checked for a distance of 20 kilometers from one point to another point. It was 20 kilometers. And Bolt was offering a price fare of around 6,000. And then I checked on indrive. Indrive was offering somewhere around 5,000, not 5,000, 5,2 or something like that. 5,2, 5,3, some just a little bit above 5,000. Now, if you look at it in that, considering their commission payment, for both, you have a 20% commission. Now, this is outside of VAT or any other charges that might be included. If you take out 20% from 6,000, you're left with around, I believe it's 4,800 in profit, okay? Not profit, but you still have to remove fuel cost and all that, but let's just say that's what you have after paying commission. Then on indrive, if you take out some 10% or 9.99% as a claim, you would have somewhere around 4,600 or something, right? So the difference between these two is 200 naira. Now think of it more logically this way. If a customer wants to get to somewhere and then they check on boat is saying you have to pay 6,000, and then they check on indrive is saying you have to pay 5,000. Which do you think the customer would go for? Obviously the lesser amount, because people want to achieve the most things for the littlest amount of money or for the littlest cost. Hence they would go to indrive, and I think that's the whole thing about what indrive is getting a hype quite recently. The difference here is that you get 200 naira more if you walked on Bolt, and you get 200 naira less if you walked on indrive. So that's just a difference. Now, being on indrive, there's a twisted trick here, wherein the indrive app thrives on giving drivers, even customers, the illusion of price control. They allow you to think that you are actually the one determining how much you want to get paid or how much you're going to pay as a customer for certain distance. This is not necessarily true. That's why I call it an illusion, and I'll explain why. Now, if you see on any phone app where if you want to go to somewhere, indrive immediately recommends a price to you. The first price recommended is always the worst, unless it's a search. The first price recommended is always the worst one. They expect you to bargain. They expect the rider, or rather the customer, to bargain. The mistake most drivers make is to think that every ride is a good one on indrive. Now, if you don't know how to calculate or how to understand what trip is the best and not the best, I have a solution for you. First of all, the first solution I would give to you is stay with Bolt and Uber. They are much better at that. They will help you calculate which one is good, and then they'll give you without you having to haggle any price. But if you are on indrive, of which I would definitely encourage, very highly encourage everybody who is both using the Bolt app, Uber app should also have indrive, also have rida if you can manage all of them. Okay, always have these ones on the side because you tend to have those ones buzzing more because of the price fare, the decrease in price fare. Now the first solution I would give to you is stick with Bolt and Uber where you don't have to bargain. But if you do have to bargain, I have a solution for you. Now I made an analysis, not an analysis, more like a breakdown of what a proper fare is and the calculation for that. In the previous couple of weeks, I had made a video around that premise as well, where I spoke about the basic, or rather the base fare that should be added to every trip to make it fair or make it similar to what you would have gotten if you were on Bolt or Uber. But these things are always changing. The last time I made the video, I had said that the base fare for most of this trip should be somewhere around 2,500. But right now, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't apply in that sense. Okay? And I believe it's part of the reason could be that we are around the peak season. You know, December is a peak season, so there are more requests, there are more demand for transportation, basically. So I have made a breakdown of a price fare, wherein from 0 to 10 kilometers, this is your base fare. Now, notice that it is either this or this. There is a 2,500 or 3,000. This is because you could go higher. In fact, as a matter of fact, you could go as high as possible, depending on how desperate the person is to go to where they want to go to. Quite recently, I carried a person for just a distance of 7 kilometers, and they were willing to pay me 4,000. And this was because of the area where I carried the person from. Okay, it seemed like they were looking for a ride for like forever, so they were more than willing to pay a very good price for anybody who is willing to come. Okay, and that is only something you can obtain on indrive or rida. You can't obtain that on Bolt and Uber. They have a fixed price. The least acceptable amount is the first amount, the base fare. And then you can go as high as possible. But let's consider that you are out on a work day and then so many requests are coming in. The moment you line up whatever fare the customer is offering to this base fare that I am also giving as a standard, okay, make sure that you never go below these numbers. Very importantly, so that however the day goes, you can always account for a good amount of profits. That is also why this is important. Now, let's analyze some trips here on indrive, and then let me tell you what seems like a good trip and what doesn't. Now, some trips, they look quite juicy, they look quite inviting, but trust me, they are quite horrible. Okay, so now here's the first trip. This person was going to APDC estate. Yeah, somewhere in Kubuakagini district. Yeah, true. Now, what we calculate is the distance from the pickup location to the drop-off location. We don't calculate the distance from where we are to the pickup location. So hence, our focus is on the 12.7 kilometers, not on the 5.5 kilometers. If we calculate based on our minimal fare, this is a horrible trip. Not horrible, but it's bad for you. You will not make as much profit as you should. Why? This is 12.7, or this is 12, let's call it 13 kilometers. 13 kilometers, and according to our calculation, the least amount you should add as a base fare is 3,000. Okay? Ultimately, our calculation should bring us up to 4,200, not 3,200, or rather 4,300, somewhere around the premise of 4,200 to maybe 4,500. This is what this trip is worth. But for a person who does not calculate this things properly, they immediately just accept this for 3,200. No, this is, the customer got the best bargain out of you, and you are losing, right? Because right now you just drove for a distance, and by the way, you go to a place like this estate, APDC estate and all that, you're more than likely not to get a return trip, at least back into the town area. So it's going to be a horrible trip for you. Okay, let's look at something else. Okay, this person is going to Harmony Estate. Harmony Estate, this one is in Galadimawa, for the price of 5,800. Now let's consider this again. What is the least amount of base fare in comparison to what is seemingly acceptable? Okay, and now the least amount of base fare seems like, okay, let's say we could go for 3,000. This seems like an okay trip. This is actually an okay trip. All right, you see the difference? The distance here is 25.9 kilometers. Let's call it 26 kilometers. 26 kilometers, let's say the minimal base fare is 3,000. That would be around 5,600. Let's even go higher and say, okay, the minimal base fare is somewhere around 3,500. That would bring everything to somewhere around 6,100 naira. This is still kind of okay because it falls within the range of what seems like a good fare. You get my point? All right. Now, this is the same location. Now I captured this on boat. If you see up here, it said I'm on Harmony Estate. I wanted to see how much boat was taken for this trip. Boat was taken somewhere around 9,200, which is a lot more than what indrive was going to accept. Okay, but however, I believed at the time of this, I was capturing this, I believe there was a little bit of surge on the boat app. I believe. However, if there is not, then this just proves my point, wherein I'm trying to say that boat does a very good job when it comes to long distance trips. And more customers are coming to realize that boat is a little bit more expensive. So they go on indrive to try and get the best deal for transport. Okay, here's another one. This person is going to a distance of 35 kilometers. 35 kilometers, if we add 3,500 as well as the least acceptable, or let's even say we add 4,000, right? This is still a good trip. This is still a good trip. I did not like the trip, obviously, because of where the person was going. I didn't want to go to the Lupe area. I hate the road and for some other reasons anyway. But this is a good trip. That's what I'm trying to say. All right. This is also, okay, no, this one was to the airport, right? This was to the airport. I noticed that boat was taking somewhere around 13,900 to go to the airport from the position where I was. This was around Duse Market area. And then when I checked on indrive, indrive was also taking somewhere around 11,000, 10,000, somewhere around that range. So it kind of seemed like it matches up when it comes to the airport trips. Here's another trip, okay? This is for 13 kilometers. 13 kilometers, we add 3,000 to it. This should be, this kind of trip should go around 4,300 or something like that. But this person was offering 3,500. This is not a good trip. Don't go for it. Okay, look at this person. This person is going for a distance of 11 kilometers. 11 kilometers plus 3. You should be collecting somewhere around 4,100 for this trip. But this person has offered us 2,600. And the highest fare that was offered was 3,300. I don't even think you should consider this trip at all. Just let somebody else have it. Somebody who does not understand this pricing system. Okay, the next one is around 15, let's call it 16 kilometers. 16 kilometers, and we add 3 to it, there's like 4,600. This person is quite close. So 4,400 is still kind of okay, but if you just want to make sure, just why not offer 4,700 and go for this trip? This is great. But, sorry, it seems like the pickup for this one is horrible. So also consider the pickup so that you don't drive for too long to pick up somebody and then still go for the same price. It's not, well, it doesn't make that much sense to drive too long to pick up a person, unless of course the person is on your way to wherever destination you're going. Okay, this one is also going to Guarimpa for 10.8 kilometers. This trip should maybe be around, yeah, around 4,000. 4,000 would be good. This one is going to 2 locations. The total distance is around 16.5 kilometers. If you are 3,000 as our least amount of acceptable base fare, then you should be expecting somewhere around 4,600, 4,700. So 4,000 is still kind of far from what we should be able to accept. All right. Hence, I believe maybe making it, offering 4,600 would make more sense. Okay, so and on and on and on and on like that. My point is, download this, our price guide or fare guide. It's free, by the way. It's not for sale or anything. It's free. So I'll try as much as possible to make something available almost every month, as much as I can, to because I believe that these things, they would change. When you come to January now, the demand for transportation may not be as high as it is right now. So you may have to tweak it a little bit. It may have to fall down a little bit if you hope to actually complete a reasonable amount of trip in a day. Okay, so this one is for this December. If you are on indrive, or if you know somebody on indrive who may get confused about these things, you can just download it and send them a copy. It's free. And by the way, when you click on the link, it may take you through an advertisement site or something. You can skip it after 4 seconds or something like that. We're just trying to do a little bit of fundraising. Thank you very much in advance for your patience. Okay, we're building a website, so this is going to help us fund it better. All right, so thank you very much. I will talk to you later.